Well, thank you for that introduction. I'm going to kick things off. My name is Becca Dewey. I am a recent graduate of the full-time MBA program, just graduated in May, and I'm really excited to be back with an all-star crew of OutClass members. So let's just start with some introductions. I will just give you a little bit of background on myself and then have our panelists introduce themselves. So as I mentioned, I'm Becca. I'm actually currently located in Boston, Massachusetts, where I moved for work. Before coming to Stern, I worked in the retail industry, mostly in startups. And then I am actually headed to Bain & Company next month. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful panelists. And Adam, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Thanks, Becca. Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Fisher. I just recently graduated from the Langone part-time MBA program this past spring. Before MBA, I was in sustainability consulting. Post-MBA, I am still in sustainability consulting. I work in sustainability and energy efficiency for commercial real estate. Because I was already in the industry that I liked, that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to be in the part-time program, and I can definitely speak to that further. I live in Hell's Kitchen, and really excited to be here and being able to talk about the part-time experience with the MBA and being involved in the LGBT community on campus.
Wonderful, thank you. Casey.
Hi everyone, I'm Casey Chen. Originally, I'm from China. Right now I'm in Jersey City, looking at Manhattan. Prior to Stern, I was a consultant in Beijing, and I did enjoy my time there. So I recruited for consulting last summer. And yeah, I'm happy to talk about like my experience at Stern and my application process, and also like how I went through this as an international student.
Great, thanks Casey. Michael?
Thanks, Becca. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am a full-time second-year MBA student. And prior to Stern, I worked in financial services and risk management. And I came to Stern to kind of make a broader pivot away from finance, and I'm now exploring a career in big tech. And I hope to pursue that after I graduate this spring. I am also coming to you from Manhattan, where I live right off of Washington Square Park.
So close to school.
Right next to school.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for those introductions. I would love to let everyone know a little bit more about what we're doing here today. I'm going to ask our panelists some questions. They're going to give us lots of insight into the MBA experience and the admissions process. There will be a chance to interact in breakout rooms with these panelists, as well as other members of OutClass, our LGBTQ club, and then we will have a brief question and answer period at the end. So feel free to drop questions in the chat as we go along, and we will kind of save those to the end of the hour. Also, we will be sharing our contact information. So, you know, if you have follow-up questions, you can reach out to us at the end. So once again, I will echo Jess and ask if you could keep yourselves on mute and video off for this portion so that everyone can just see our panelists. And then we will have a little bit more interaction as we get into our breakout sessions later on. So with that, let's jump right in. So first question, why did you come to business school? And then also going to tack on to that, what's your advice for somebody who's in the admission process? Michael, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I came to business school, as I just started to share with you all, because I wanted to have a kind of broader sense of the business community and the business world. I worked in a very niche area of financial services and risk management. Actually, it was called reputation risk, and you probably don't know what that is, but essentially what I did was I helped work with clients who had like a negative public profile, maybe work responsibly with a bank who was afraid that doing business with them might hurt their reputation. So I was really focused on this one area, but I really enjoyed the kind of diverse nature of my work. I worked across many different functions. I had a little bit of marketing in my role, a little bit of finance, a little bit of project management. And I thought business school would be a great opportunity to learn the skills to really accelerate in a more broad career. And when I came to Stern, I realized that there were so many different opportunities for me across various industries. So I actually spent time recruiting across tech, across CPG marketing. I looked at some other finance roles, and business school is an incredible opportunity to expand your horizons. And it's okay that I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, because there's lots of opportunities to explore, which I'm sure we'll tell you much more about as the panel continues.
Thanks. Casey, what about you?
Yeah, so I was a consultant in China, but I think I was, so my consulting firm is relatively small, and I think at some point I already have a small team and I can work with them, but I really want to expand my career. I think most of the best consulting firms, they are in the States, so I want to explore my career chance here. And also, I will echo what Michael said, that Stern can provide you a lot of choices. Even though I recruited for consulting, I also went to different corporate presentations across different industries. And I think from Coffee Chat, I got exposure to amazing people. Some of them are Stern alums, some are not. But I think that's really helpful for me to deeper my understanding about business school, also across different industries to learn more about these people.
Wonderful. And Adam?
Yeah, so I came to business school because I knew that I wanted to get a more formal education in business itself, because I knew that I wanted to be leading organizations, leading business units. I actually have a background in mechanical engineering and started my career in consulting at Accenture. So I had a lot of organizational background as well as technical background, but not really a formal business education. And when I got to Stern, I was really able to kind of identify some of the skill sets that I have that I didn't really know how to apply. So for me, when I got to Stern, I really realized how much a lot of the skill sets that I have align with marketing and a lot of the way that my brain worked when I hadn't really identified that previously. So I was able to focus on that and be able to take that back into business development and sales in the technical industry that I'm in.
Great. Thank you, guys. And I'm going to repeat the second half of my question because I think it can stand on its own.
Yeah.
What is your advice for somebody kind of entering this process? You all have been through MBA admissions yourselves. What was that like? What would you suggest? And, kind of what would be your advice for somebody who's in that position now? So Casey, maybe you can lead us off on that one. And Casey, you're on mute, just so you know.
Yeah, still trying to learn Zoom at this point.
Aren't we all? We're in a weird world here.
Yeah. So when I look back my application process, I think the one big thing that really makes sense to myself is to be true to myself. So I think through it's kind of like a soul searching. I know it's abstract and it doesn't always feel as a song, but I feel like I really look back to my experience and see what I really want and who I really want to be. And also I think for me specifically as in the Chinese culture, being gay is not like a really easy thing. I think I also reflect on that part, and I think that really helpful for me to learn about myself and transform that into my application, essays and everything.
Great. Adam?
Yeah, so I actually also used my experience kind of coming out and being othered a little bit is a way to highlight the ways in which I've been able to connect with others and really thinking about as a part of this process how my personal experience relates to my business experience. So we might be jumping ahead a little bit, but it was, I ended up writing about and reflecting on how I was able to connect with others in the business world who might have had, I had a coworker who had other forms of disabilities that weren't obvious, and he kind of felt comfortable coming out to me of being his authentic self, because it's me being my authentic self in the workplace, and understanding the importance of being able to do that, and then coming into the Stern experience being your authentic self as well. So really being open to that, because it's a really welcoming environment.
Important words of advice. Thank you. And Michael.
I'll just add on a little bit of a different note that being a member of the identifying queer community is a great way to make the application process and the joining business school feel like a smaller community, which makes it a lot more comfortable, I think, especially for many of us where we didn't ever expect this of our career trajectory. And there's some amount of confidence that you need to apply to business school and think that you're a really good fit. Being part of the LGBT community, at least for me, and speaking to members of OutClass when I was applying and other business schools and their queer communities, made me feel like I could really do this, and really gave me the confidence to apply and be who I am and exactly my authentic self, as both Casey and Adam said. So I would encourage you to reflect upon that and use these resources to kind of boost yourself up and strike that power pose when you're writing your application, because it really helps to make it an easier, smoother, and more comfortable process.
Thank you guys so much. I think as all of you said, kind of being true to yourself and really presenting who you are is so important. The admissions committee really wants to learn about you as a person, and not necessarily, who you think they want to see. I think, I'm the moderator, but I'm going to jump in with a couple of words of advice I think one thing I worried about was coming from a quote unquote non-traditional background, that maybe I wasn't the right fit for a business school. I was an international relations major as an undergraduate. I did work in businesses, but I worked in kind of business operations, like making things run, not necessarily like heavy finance or something like that. And at the end of the day, I think that's what makes a business school class special, as you can see, even with who we have here today. Michael, Adam, and Casey all come from really different backgrounds, and that's what makes Stern such a great place to go to school, is you get to meet people from so many different walks of life. And that's what you bring to the class too. Whatever your background is, the admissions committee wants to know about it. And hopefully that can be a part of our class to come next year or whenever you're applying. So with that, let's move on a little bit to another question about what it's like to be at Stern, and specifically, what's it like to be LGBTQ at Stern? Could you all speak to what is the community like, and how supportive are other students, administrators, or faculty members of the queer experience at Stern? And Michael, I'll throw that one back to you.
Thanks, Becca. I think the OutClass community at Stern has been such a solve for me in many ways to ease the process of a really challenging first semester and first year. Business school is a really challenging, fast-paced environment, and having a close group of friends who you can rely on for both a community, but also helping you through the recruitment process is so helpful. And I guess to address how the rest of the Stern community thinks about OutClass, it's been fascinating to see the interest in the Stern community to learn about what it's like to be queer in the workplace. One of the events that OutClass hosts every year is called Love Wins Week. And it's a week-long event that we hold usually over Valentine's Day that's all focused on kind of queer issues, and then bringing in members of the Stern community to understand, learn, and celebrate that with us. Whether that's professors who moderate panels for us who are non-identifying, or students in the part-time program and the one-year focus program who are either part of our community or not, who attend panels. It's really exciting to see the community come together and support us. Last year, we raised over I think $1,000 for a local New York City LGBT organization, which was incredibly helpful. And events like these really show the strength of our unique cluster, but also how we engage with the community.
Great. Casey, do you want to speak to that as well?
Sure. So speaking of Love Wings Week, I really remember that. So like we held this event like early in March. So right after that, we have the shutdown. So I really remember like miss that experience there. So speaking of the OutClass community, I will say it means like a lot to me. Also, I don't know if you guys know the word called like imposter syndrome. Like everyone seems so great and then feel, oh, what do I have? Like everyone is so great. And but I think all class members really like bring me like out of like that zone and make me very confident, and everyone is super helpful. I receive like help from my MBA tools like Becca, Gage, who's also like in this chat, and also like from my peers like Michael and David and a lot of people. I think it's a really supportive environment, and also I think it's a safe space like for us to talk about like ourselves, and yeah, I think it's a really wonderful experience.
Great. And Adam?
Yeah. So specifically as a part-time MBA, being a part of the OutClass community was something that meant a lot to me and was a way in which I was able to meet a lot of Sternies, whether it was part-time or full-time. One of the concerns about being in the part-time program is that you're working during the day, you're going to school at night, there are a few opportunities to be social, but it's definitely, it can be a little bit more challenging to make sure that you have enough time to really get that full experience. And being a part of the OutClass community gave me an opportunity to establish some really strong connections with people that were doing very different things from myself. And being able, and we'll probably get into this further, but during last fall, I made a specific point to make sure that I attended Ramba, Reaching Out MBA conference, and with part-time students as well as full-time students, and really establishing those connections. And then when I was back in classes, being able to connect with people and meet even more people through that community was something that I really appreciated, that translated into social experiences outside of school as well. So I definitely really enjoyed that.
Thanks. And actually, Adam, would you want to explain a little bit more about what Ramba is?
Yeah, so the Reaching Out MBA conference, it's a national conference, maybe international, but I think national conference where LGBT identifying MBAs come together from all over the country to meet one another, learn, and also have a really big career fair and recruit, where some of the top companies from all over the country come in, and they're specifically recruiting for LGBTQ identifying MBAs. And it was a great opportunity to meet people, actually reconnect with people that I had no idea were either in MBA programs around the country, or I didn't realize were like queer identifying and in MBA programs all over the country. And then really just having a fun time as well. And they also bring in some great speakers. The keynote last year was Lena Waithe, which was really incredible. And I think the keynote this year is Leslie Jordan, which is really wonderful, and definitely a great experience. That was a huge highlight of my overall Stern experience.
Yeah, it was a great time. And like you said, I think one of the great things about it is you're away from campus and with this whole group of LGBTQ MBAs. So you really get to know, that group of people. Like Adam, you and I met at Ramba, and we actually ended up staying in the same, like we got an apartment and a whole bunch of us stayed together. And that was a great way to make connections, like you said, across the full-time and part-time program. And now, I'm so excited to see you here today and be able to catch up beyond, beyond just what we're doing here. So
absolutely.
yeah, I think that's all really important stuff to know. I'd love to, again, normally we'd be in a big room together and I could solicit questions a little bit more easily. We have a few minutes left where I'm going to keep asking a couple more questions to our panelists, but for everyone in attendance, this day is really about you, and we really want to make sure that your questions get answered. So if you do have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat and we will get to them. I have to imagine that you have lots of things on your mind. I know I certainly did when I was going through this process, and it can be a stressful time, and we want to make it as easy as we can for you. So please send us your questions. We are really looking forward to answering them. But in the meantime, for all my lovely panelists, what was one thing that surprised you about coming to business school? And Casey, maybe you could start.
Maybe it sounds cliche, but definitely the one thing that I didn't expect is the OutClass community. So like I said, so like Chinese are more conservative, so we kind of like, oh no, we don't want to talk about this. But I think for here, everyone is like within OutClass, like I talked about, everyone is friendly, supportive, helpful. And also I think outside of OutClass, people are also like understanding, supportive, and I feel very comfortable being myself and talk about like OutClass, my sexuality, stuff like that. So I really enjoy that part of Stern like the most. Yeah.
Great. And Michael?
What surprised me most was the diversity of work experience from both just a purely years perspective. The number of people in my class who have more than 10 years of work experience and some who have none, and the ability for us to work together and share our own strengths, whether that's knowing how to use TikTok, which is useful for a business school class, or if we need to have a really in-depth conversation about like accounting practices, there's someone at Stern who knows how to do that and will help you. The ability of our classmates to kind of jump into conversations with someone that they don't know very well, but because we have being a Sternie in common, it just makes a conversation flow more naturally and people are willing to help. Stern really emphasizes EQ and IQ, this combination of emotional intelligence and traditional intelligence. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but it is absolutely true. I'm so shocked all the time when I have a new conversation. I should probably stop being surprised by the friendliness and willingness to go out of your way to make a connection for a company that you're interested in or recommend a professor for a class that you really liked. There are countless examples of where Stern just really shows up for one another. And that's my favorite part about business school.
That's wonderful. And Adam, how about you?
As a part-time student, I think that one of the things that surprised me the most was the interpersonal connections that I was able to establish. I think a lot of people that there are a number of reasons to be doing the part-time program. Some people are doing it just to get the MBA, but at Stern, really it's about the community and the relationships that I established in my block from my first semester of people that I'm still very close with to this day, and then also the relationships I was able to establish throughout class and opportunities to travel. Even as a part-time student, I participated in one of the spring break treks to Patagonia, which was really incredible, and I was able to meet people from all over the school and really establishing those connections while also sincerely learning and being able to identify some skills and strengths that I didn't even know that I had. So all of that were definitely some surprises for me.
That's fantastic. And so I'm going to throw you guys one last question before we head to our breakout sessions. We had a question that was on my list that also came up here, which was around what was the admission process like for somebody who was LGBTQ? How did you communicate that status to the admissions committee? Were you out in your application, and kind of how did you navigate that? Casey, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, sure. So I did. So in my application, first of all, you will I think they have this option in the application form that you can identify yourself. And also apart from that, I think in my pick 6, I'm not sure if you guys know that you will pick 6 pictures that also you will have once, I think in my year, you will have one sentence for each picture that to describe it. So I think I put a picture of me with my girlfriend, and I can't remember what I write on it, but it's a picture that I talk about in pick 6.
Great. And how about you, Adam?
Yeah, so as I went into a little bit, I was definitely out in my application process. I used my queer identity as a core part of describing kind of who I am and how it has impacted my business experiences. And kind of one of the things that I also have on my resume just in general is I usually talk about as like easy ways to come out as talking about any LGBT organizations that I'm involved in. So before going to business school, I was in an LGBT dodgeball league in New York City. So making sure that I kind of highlight some of those things as some of my extracurriculars as soft ways to just be talking about my queer identity as a part of that I do for Stern and also in the business world.
Love that. How about you, Michael?
Yeah, so I will echo what Casey said about the Pick 6 essay. I was also out in one of the images that described myself through that essay. But another way that I've seen students share that they've expressed their identity through their application is actually through the first essay about your professional aspirations and goals. Mm-hmm. As we've kind of talked about today, there's so much to say that a strong community of people can make you, better positioned to achieve those goals. And having conversations with OutClass members before students start at Stern is one of the ways that I've seen people say, I know I'm going to feel comfortable at Stern. I will be in a position to be my best self, and that will help me be successful. So I definitely encourage you to have more conversations with members of our community, either through these breakout sessions, or we're going to share our contact information so you can follow up with us. But I'd love to see that as well. And I know it's a really successful way to show how you can be, your best self and be successful in your business school career.
Great. So with that, I think we're going to call this the end of the panel section of this hour. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jess. And for my two panelists and myself, we're going to just drop our contact information in the chat. And I think that will be shared maybe a little bit more formally at the end as well. But just so you have our emails, we'll throw them in the chat. Thanks.
Thanks, Becca. Thank you all for sharing your experience. I know that the attendees today really appreciate your transparency and willing to share your experience at Stern. So at this point, I do want to invite all of the Stern OutClass volunteers to turn their video on and quickly do some introductions to the main group before we head out into breakouts. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes and I'll call on one of you and then you kind of can pass it to the next. And then we'll break out into the individual sessions. So let's see. David, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Hey, everyone. David, I'm an MBA too. I'm the co-president of OutClass along with Michael. So happy to answer more questions about the club. I come from an entertainment background. I worked in media, recruiting for consulting and hospitality tech. So happy to talk about those industries or anything Stern related.
All right. Gage?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Gage. I graduated last year with Becca and Adam, and I'm going to start my job in healthcare consulting sometime next month. I'm currently based in Chicago, so happy to talk about consulting, healthcare, or anything queer in the MBA program.
Gage, can you pass it off to one of your colleagues?
Sure. Who has not introduced themselves yet? I think it might just be the three panelists, Becca and David. We might have gotten
everyone whose camera is on is.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry. Everyone whose camera's on. Got it. Tal, go ahead.
Hi guys, I'm Tal. I'm the class of 22. I use they, them pronouns. I'm in Gowanus. I'm recruiting for consulting. And my background is I was the ops director at a wholesale bakery in Brooklyn. So if you eat croissants in New York, hit me up. I want to gossip. Oh, I'll toss to Sherrod Beeks.
Hey guys, I'm Sherrod. I'm an MBA 1 as well as Tal. Before Stern, I was working in finance. I'm going to be recruiting for consulting. Any questions on the MBA 1 experience so far in COVID, feel free to ask. And I'll pass it to Lauren.
Hi, everyone. I am Lauren, and I'm in the part-time program starting my second year, and I'm also the VP of Langone. And so I'm trying to kind of help bridge the gap between full-time and part-time. And I'm happy to answer any questions about, balancing part-time school with full-time work. And I also work at NYU, so I'm on campus, like in person now, working in a lab. So I work in a research lab, so sciencey, and making a switch into more business. And so I'm kind of on that, using my MBA to switch careers. So I can talk about that as well. But trying to think who else we have.
Alexander?
Alexander, yeah, I wasn't sure.
Hi, I'm Alex. I am an MBA 1. I early recruited via Jumpstart and Consortium, and I will be interning in brand management this coming summer.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys all for joining us today. At this point, we're going to split the group into breakout rooms. You'll have the opportunity to have smaller group chats with our OutClass representatives. And you'll have about 10-15 minutes to have those discussions, and then we'll bring you back to the main room to answer some of the Q&A. So we'll kick that off.